Hello and welcome to my tutorial series. This will be episode 7 covering the muscles of the arm. Now this series is designed for you to follow along in making your own paper model, if making one like me is just what you desire, even though I encourage you to just create your own thing and let my own videos inspire your ideas. Well anyway, I'm actually making these videos in the order I actually make the model. And right now, I want to do the arms. So that is what I will show. Okay, so if you've been following along with this tutorial series, you should have already made this, the frame of your arm with the deltoid muscle all done. And if you recall in my tutorial that I showed on this, the lower arm is just a tube of paper sliding into the tube of paper that is connected to the upper arm. Roll paper into a tube that will slide around the frame of the arm like this. And this tube will always be removable. This part will actually just be sliding around. And you really don't need more than one layer of paper. And then create a structure for the bicep piece like this. This is the same method I showed in my deltoid tutorial, where you just draw the shape as you want it to look from either side, and then you just fold them both sides together like that and wrap it around with a piece of card like this. So more or less this will signal the depth of the bicep and then also what sort of shape it's going to be curving out from the side. And once you've sticky taped that together, glue it to the tube of paper that we just rolled, like this. Now we know exactly how far out the bicep muscle should go, and we also have a solid point holding the shape of the muscle, so the paper won't get squashed in if you apply any kind of pressure there. Next, create a structure piece for the tricep, and this is basically just what the shape of the muscle is going to look like from a top view. So I can see I'll see exactly how wide the muscle is here, and sort of how much it's going to curve from the side, and then also how far back it's going to go. So this is just a single piece of card, and I'm going to glue that to the back of the arm here. So now I can see exactly how big the muscle will be at its thickest point. And then also, once the glue is dry, this will kind of act like a solid point as well, stopping the paper from getting squashed in. Now for the muscle, create a rough copy of the bicep. This is the part where we begin to shape the muscle and have to think really hard about how it's going to look as a flat piece of paper before folding into the three-dimensional shape we want. And to figure out exactly what the measurements are going to be, I take my ruler and I sort of just curve it around here to get an idea for how wide I think the muscle would need to be. And then I can run it along here to see exactly how long or tall it needs to be. That's the significance and the importance of doing the structure piece first. It just makes everything afterwards a lot easier. And after several rough copies of the bicep, I finally came to this shape here, where you can see I figured out where I had to make all these other cuts to round it the way I want it to. So we still have these two big ones in the center here that really form the main structure of the muscle. And I had to add a couple little cuts up here to round the bicep towards the top of the muscle. And of course, I also had some rather big curving cuts here for the inside of the muscle to give that extra roundness that I wanted. Something like this with just 9 cuts around should be plenty to get all the shape I desire for the bicep muscle. So next, to color it in. And I'm going to be adding a little bit of a vein here that I forgot to draw in earlier. And now I'm just going to start bending the paper around so it's already starting to form the shape I want before it needs to be taped together. And now we can just start taping everything together. So I have one piece going up here. And the idea is to use the smallest amount of tape as possible, because the sticky tape kind of makes everything look a little bit cheap and tacky, like it's made out of paper or something. And so I'm going to try and use just one piece of tape along connecting these 4 little cuts along here. And now I think a third piece of tape will be needed to pull all this together even better. Another piece up here for the inside of the bicep. You notice I cut the sticky tape off short a little bit just because I don't want too much tape overlapping each other. That's what really makes it look kind of tacky. And so now the bicep is all done. And all that's left to do is to attach it around the actual arm. And that'll be done by adding a double-sided piece of tape here to the structure And I nearly forgot, but this tube of paper here will actually be visible in some areas, so you might want to color that in the skin tone you're using, or in my case, I'm going to have to attach just another piece of card to wrap around here that's the appropriate color. I added a little vein detail there too, just cause. And now we can add some glue to the inside of the bicep here and attach that onto the arm. And I'm going to actually have to add a few more bits of sticky tape just to hold it in place so it doesn't come undone. And it's going to get a bit messy on the inside of the arm here where the glue overflows, but hey, what are you going to do? And so now because of that frame piece, I can't squash the piece of paper in, which is nice. Alright, and moving on to the tricep, it's basically just this shape here. It's this sort of horseshoe shape that will just attach around the back of the arm, kind of like this. And so I've just cut out these two triangles on either side here, and that's because when these sides meet, there'll be like a clear change where the tricep muscle, it goes up and outward until it hits its thickest point, and then it goes inward a little bit where it meets with the shoulder, the deltoid. And this thickest point here is what this frame piece will be indicating. And so it will need to be colored in. And the shoehorn shape under here will sort of have to be folded in a little bit so it meets with the arm a little bit more smoothly. And like the bicep, I'm going to start bending this around to form that kind of shape that's desired. And there you can basically see it already. That is the tricep. And I already made sure it lined up, so this part sort of connects with the bicep here, and then wraps all the way around to the inside, like so. So I've actually pulled the upper arm off of the arm frame here, just to ensure that this tricep piece is wrapping around the structure piece I added earlier. And so you can sort of see the tricep has now met with the bicep on the inside of the arm. With this, there's going to be a bit of a gap here underneath, but I haven't figured out a way to really close that yet, so for now I think it's kind of fine. And yeah, that is it. That is more or less how the upper arm is done. So if you're still a little confused about how I get to the final copy for a muscle, or what I mean by a rough copy, here is what I recommend. Break down the part into its simplest shape. So for the bicep, that's just thinking about how it looks from the sides, which is something like this, and the front, which is pretty much just a box like this, and then cutting that out and folding it together. So the basic shape of the bicep is this. And in my opinion, that is still pretty good. However, it is still quite boxy looking, so I can actually soften these two curves here by making a smaller cut, not cutting out as much paper, so it's not such a drastic change from the front to the side. And I know the bicep is a bit rounder on the inside, so I might add another little cut or two to round out the paper further on the inside. And here at the top, I want that to round up towards the shoulder a little bit more, so I'll add another cut there. But I want the bottom of the bicep to curve even more, so I'll make a third cut to the middle here, and that is the thought process I go through when designing a shape. And sometimes it takes several attempts to get to something I'm happy with, and each of those attempts is made on a scrap piece of paper like this. And every time I get close, I cut it open, trace it onto another scrap piece of paper, adding some changes where I think they need to go, maybe making a part a bit wider or a bit longer, color it in, and that's it. That is my final copy that is folded and glued onto the model. And again, for the tricep, just break it down into its simplest shape, which is really just two sections for me, the top and the bottom. And this middle point is where the muscle is the thickest. So that is where the paper will be cut to indicate a change in the plane, where the surface changes direction. So just draw a curve like this here, and when this is cut out and folded together, you'll get the basic shape of the tricep like this. And if you just cut an arch out of the bottom here, you get the signature shoehorn shape of the tricep. And then maybe I just cut the paper here so it's a little bit rounder on either sides of the tricep, so when it folds around it's a little more natural looking. And then I can just stick it to the arm, and I can even make further adjustments if I need to. And actually on the final copy I made earlier, I noticed that the top of the tricep isn't flush with the shoulder. So I'm going to add a couple more cuts to pull the paper even closer together. And so this has been how to make the upper arm muscles on your paper model. Thank you for watching my tutorial on the muscles of the upper arm. Next time I'll be covering the, I don't actually know yet, but if you're somehow from the future, you can probably see it by clicking on the video right here. And if you want to take a trip to the past to see the tutorials I have already done, I've assembled a playlist of all of them right here. Bye.